the kids, this group of kids here, and all the support and the learning that they have here. In fact, it's really appropriate. It's kind of ironic that we have the lesson on teach your children, the lesson on I will guide my family to be faithful church members on this day that we're recognizing. We didn't plan it this way, it just kind of happened this way. On this day that we're recognizing the fifth lesson in our book study. Everybody's have your books. If you're here with us for the first time, we're in the middle of a book study of 6 chapters, a very slim little book of 6 chapters. And this is the 5th chapter that we're looking at today. And the chapter is chapter 5, I will lead my family to become healthy church members. So isn't that neat that we're talking about the kids and their programs and what we have here to offer for the kids on this day, where we're talking about our responsibility to the children and the ones that come after us. But this is again the 5th, so we have one more Sunday, the 6th Sunday of this lesson, which has been very well received, is next Sunday. And just know we have a little fellowship after. I think, did I hear about a scoop of ice cream? Is there a scoop of ice cream? Is that what I heard today? So just to kind of celebrate ice cream and cake, to kind of celebrate the kids' kickoff. So grab your ice cream and cake, we'll have a little fellowship, and then come in and we can discuss this topic a little bit more. But the lesson that we have today is from Ephesians in chapter 6 in verses 1 through 4. And Peggy referenced this in her children's message this morning. Let's see if we can read this aloud together. Let's read this aloud together today. Children, obey your parents as you do the Lord, because this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you, and that you may have a long life in the land. Fathers, don't stir up anger in your children, but bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Thanks be to God. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And then, see, I had him read it aloud. I wanted to make sure that my son in particular, I wanted to hear those words coming out of his mouth. But this is the lesson, honor your father and mother. I'm just reminded of my father. As you know, my father was a disciples minister. And I'm reminded of just how blessed I am. My father and my mother's an Episcopal priest, and I was just so blessed. But I'm thinking about my father today because I'm thinking about the values that my father passed down on to me, the values that he instilled in my life. Because, of course, church was very important to my dad. We were a family, until I was 18 years old, until I left home, while I was under my dad's roof, I didn't have a choice. Right? Who else grew up in a family like that? Who else grew up? Raise your hand. I didn't have a choice. Nikki will tell you stories about how when she got in trouble, they would what do you call it? They would ground her from church. You know, church was so important. But we went every Sunday till I was 18 years old. As long as I was under his roof, by golly, I would be going to church. And some of that, Sunday morning, Sunday night in our church, sometimes Wednesday night, sometimes Friday night, work day, youth events, we were in church. What's more, my dad taught me how to tie a tie. Back then, in those days, as a little boy in Georgia, you had to wear a tie and a white shirt and slacks, and he taught me to come home and to hang those slacks. Did you all get this teaching, to hang the slacks up, hang your shirt up, so those clothes would be nice for the next Sunday? These were the values that my dad instilled in me. But what else was my dad, it was very important that he instilled in his kids a work ethic. So for my dad, it was important that we worked. And the fact is, I was Ezekiel's age, if actually younger. I was in 7th grade when I had my first job as a paper boy, right? Every day after school for an hour and a half, I would deliver these papers. And that's what it taught me. It taught me a work ethic, right? It taught me I would drive. Do you know about a paper boy? Does everybody know about a paper boy? People don't receive papers so much anymore, but it took armies of paper boys back then to deliver these papers. So a nickel a piece, we'd deliver them off of our bicycles and throw them on the people's porch. That's what I did. With a nickel a piece, delivering these papers, I bought myself a bike. I bought myself a Walkman. I bought myself my first guitar. Right? My family didn't have much money. So it was important. This little bit of money back in that day, does anybody know what I'm talking about? This little bit of money back in that day made a difference. It allowed me to get some things for myself. And the fact is, what I would do, I'd ride my bicycle and I got my Walkman, right? And I would listen to music. And the music I would listen to, I buy with my own money, right? So it was Metallica, it was all that stuff that was popular back in the 80s. So my dad, I think he wanted me to listen to some music to appreciate some of his music. So I remember one birthday, he got me a number of cassettes to go in my Walkman cassette tapes, right? Walkman cassette tapes, and one of the ones that he got me is Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Who knows this album? Deja Vu. Wasn't that an album? I have to tell you, and the reason I tell this long story is I'm going to tell you about what this means to me. I have an organic relationship with this album, and particularly with the song that's on this album, that from that song, it was something that inspired me to play guitar. And the song, who knows the words to the song off of this album? The classic anthem, Teach Your Children. Teach Your Children. We're going to sing it here in just a minute, but did you know that this song was inspired by, it was written by Graham Nash? And Graham Nash wrote the song because he saw a Diane Arbus photograph that was titled Child with Toy Hand Grenade in Central Park. And he saw this photograph and it started him reflecting on the messages that we give to our children about issues in the world such as war and other types of issues. And he wrote this song because he says it's so important for us to teach our children so that the next generation can be better than the last. And so we're going to sing this song here together. I'm going to just sing the first. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and we're going to see if we can sing just the first verse and chorus of this song together. We all know this song. If you don't know the song, just follow along. But the song's called "Teach Your Children," and it goes like this: You who are on the road. That you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Do we know it? Let's sing out. Teach your children well, their father's hell did slowly go by. Them on your dreams, the ones they pick, the ones you know why. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and decide, and know they love you. Amen. We know that song. Let's give God the glory. We know that song, and it's about teach your children. And this is a message. We all of us know this message, don't we, in this generation? But the fact is, this is an old message. It's even older than the lesson that we have in the New Testament. It goes all the way back to the Old Testament, all the way back to the book of Deuteronomy, where the Scripture says, and let's just read this whole thing together. Fix these words of mine and minds. Tie them as a sign on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Teach them to your children, speaking about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Write them on the doorposts of your house and gates. And do you know that tomorrow begins Rosh Hashanah? Tomorrow begins the Jewish high holy days of the Jewish people, and we're going to have, this sanctuary will be as full as it's ever been. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we'll have 700 people in this sanctuary for the celebration of Erev Rosh Hashanah. Amen. Let's give God the glory. We thank you for these connections that we have with our Jewish friends and neighbors. But you see here, isn't it ironic that we're focusing on this lesson, the very lesson that the Jewish community will be focusing on in this place tomorrow? Teach them to your children, right? And we no longer bind the words up on our foreheads, on our hands, not as Christians. We no longer put them on our doorposts. You've seen that in a Jewish home. Amen. But we do teach these to our children when we're here when we're at home, when we lie down, when we get up. That is the demand that God has placed on all of us. That is what we are continuing in the practice of this that we call God's church. We teach these to our children. And this is something that all of the religions agree, don't they? Jewish and Christian and Muslim, that's a major point. All the different faith traditions. That's a major point of why it is that we're here to worship together. It's not only to teach the Bible, it's not only to worship God, it's not only to do outreach and service and mission. Amen? But it's to practice, to show by our example, to teach children by our example. Amen? Of what it means to be a part of the church. I am a church member, and the commitment that we're making today is I will lead my family to be a healthy church member. And the author talks about how he didn't have parents. He wasn't fortunate enough to have parents to bring him, like so many of us have, to bring them and to teach him to love the church. But he said when he was a young man, he said that he came into the church as a young man, a young married man with children, and he wanted to get so involved. And he said there was a man at the church who became his spiritual mentor and that taught him how to be a church member. He said this man's name was Bob. So here's the passage from the book. It says, so Bob took me under his wing. When I would get frustrated, he would explain that no church is perfect. No pastor is perfect. No church member is perfect. And he would gently remind me that I was not perfect either. Through Bob's patient teaching, I learned to love the Lord. I learned to love people despite their imperfections. Bob taught me to look at the law in my own eye, my own imperfections, before I judge the speck in others' eyes. Remember the scripture that Margie read for us this morning? Right? And this is the principle. This is what it is. If you say, what is it that we teach our children in the church? This is what it is that we teach. That none of us are perfect. Beginning with ourselves. That we all depend on the grace and mercy of God. Right? Look first at the log in your own eye. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or I like this one. No one particularly liked Roger. Right? You know? Because they can see it. They can see it, and we can't see it ourselves. Or, here's one that even takes it to the next level, right? You just told him that he has a splinter in his eye, and you have a log in yours. Well, what does this one have in his? Right? It's just to say there's a spiritual principle here, amen? And what an image that we have here, because Jesus is speaking about people like us. Jesus is speaking about religious people, religious folks who think that we have it so together that we then find ourselves in a position to give other people advice on how they live their lives. And Jesus offers up this image of a log in the eye just to say how silly it is for us to go about trying to correct other people when we have something, we have glaring character defects that everybody else can see. But we're the last people to see these ourselves. Just think of that image. Think of the image of the guy walking around. This is a silly image. And it's a corrective to us, isn't it? When we want to go around taking other people's inventory. Telling other people how we feel that they should live their lives. You see, we walk around pointing out other people's problems when the fact is everyone else can see that we've got a worse problem. We just have a blind spot to it ourselves. And that's why it's so important, I think, for us to be in a community where people can see us, where people can be honest with us about who we are. Because, when we allow other people to be honest with us, then that's perhaps sometimes the only time that we can accurately see ourselves. There was an article in The Atlantic, the magazine The Atlantic, just in this past year, and it was titled, People Don't Actually Know, I think I did the title wrong, because people don't actually know themselves very well. So I did the title wrong, but this is the quote that it says. It interviewed, and it had several different scientific studies, and it came up with this quote. It says, anytime a trait is easy to observe or hard to admit, you need other people to hold up a mirror for challenge is they're often reluctant to tell you stuff you don't want to hear, but need to hear. The author goes on to say that it's not good enough just to have your spouse be that other person to reflect, because that spouse has an incentive to see you in a positive way. So that spouse is often going to co-sign on the things that we think about ourselves. So it's so important that we can be in communities where other people can get to know us and reflect back to us who we really are. That's a primary reason for being in the life of the church, so that we can accurately see ourselves, so that we can see the truth about ourselves. That's the message. We need other people in order to see the truth about ourselves. And we need other people that don't have some kind of commitment to prop us up. This image of the man with the log in his eye criticizing, the speck in another's eye is a reminder, isn't it, that oftentimes I'm the last person to see myself accurately. It's like I mentioned the other day about a friend who says that she prays to God every day to reveal to her where she is wrong. Because until she sees where she is wrong, then there's no place that she can work then on changing herself. And I thought that was so courageous to have that prayer. But you know, in fact is, you can be in a church community and we're going to get a lot of feedback on where we are wrong, aren't we? Right? If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, amen? Right? But this is what this is. This is a crucible. This is a refining fire for us where we can see ourselves accurately, so we can see our character defects reflected in the people that we meet each day, so that we can work on these things that are no longer working for us. And that's so courageous. The woman who prays to say, show me where I'm wrong, it reminds me how often we do the opposite, right? How often we ensconce ourselves in a bubble. See, I've got to hold this pick in my hand or else I'm going to lose it when it's time for me to play guitar. But how often do we ensconce ourselves in a bubble, right? Surrounding ourselves by people that will co-sign the way that we feel about ourselves, surrounding ourselves with news and information so that we never have to challenge our preconceived notions. And compare that with the courage of the person that says, God, tell me every day where I'm wrong. The courage of the person who, it's so easy to isolate ourselves, it's so easy to go our own way, to take our own ball and go home. What takes courage is to be in a community where we can be challenged, where we can see the truth about ourselves reflected back to us in the people that are in our family of faith. That's why it's so important, isn't it, to belong to a community of faith. That's why it's so important to lead our families to belong to a community of faith, because it forces us to be in relationship with people that are different than ourselves. The people who can challenge the way that we see ourselves. And you know what? I think it's perhaps most important for our children, that we teach our children to be in relationship with people who are different than ourselves and to learn to respect those people. Because if we don't do that, if we don't intentionally put our children in places where they can be in relationship with people who are different, then the danger is that they could grow up and learn to be entitled rather than to be responsible. You know that word, entitled? Entitled, believing oneself to be inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment, such as his pompous and entitled attitude. Right? This is this idea that if we don't do this intentionally with our children are going to end up living in that bubble rather than trying to be open to where they might be wrong and where they can change. So isn't that important? We're here to teach our children, and I'm going to use a word that perhaps you've heard this word used in this way before, because the last thing that we want our children to become is a snowflake, right? Have we ever heard that word used in this way that I'm using this word before? A snowflake is someone who thinks that they are unique and different, but really they're not. I have a little child, no. Right? And you know, it's possible to grow up your whole life and never grow out of that snowflake phase. Right? It's not that we're not created by God to be unique and different and special. What we're talking about is we're talking about an attitude that says, I am the only one that is. unique, and different and special. Because the truth is that we're all of us just looking for connection. Amen? And any attitude that we have that says that we are better than or less than another person, that just keeps us from being in connection with that other person. Just stands in the way from that connection that we're all of us looking for. And so to be in church means that we teach our children that we're not better than or less than, but that we're part of the human family, and that none of us is perfect, starting with we ourselves. That's what it means to be in relationship with other people in the light of Jesus Christ, because we know all of us fall short of the standard that God set for us and what Jesus has done for us. Right? We are saved by grace through faith, not by works, so that no one may boast. So let's take that better than and less than stuff, and let's put that to the side. And where else are our kids going to learn that outside of being in church? In fact, to be perfectly honest, our kids have so many opportunities. You know, my son's at the Denver School of the Arts. He plays on an elite soccer team. You know, we've got him running all week long. Tracking, you know, some of these opportunities cost money. You know, every opportunity we can give to our kids. Guess what? If it wasn't for the church, my kids wouldn't have the chance to know kids that are different than them. Much less adults, much less senior adults, right? Like we have here in the life of the church. And dare I say that if it wasn't for the church, many of us who are adults wouldn't have the chance to know the children, wouldn't have a chance to know the young people, the families who come from different backgrounds, from different places in life. The church has a purpose in building the society, amen? The church has a purpose in building love and trust between the generations. That's why we're here. Where else does this happen in this world that we live in but here in God's church? The author closes and continues the story about Bob, and he says, by the way, Bob's two sons are grown men now, and they are serving their local churches just like their dad. And like Bob's family, my three sons grew up with a love for the church. You see how this gets passed on down the generations? They were not blind to the problems and challenges that occur in any church. They did learn, however, to love people unconditionally. And in so learning, they learned to love the church. And so you know what? That's my prayer. I don't know about you, but that's my prayer, that my kids will learn to love through all of these experiences, and they're, you know, good and bad. That my kids will learn to love the church. Will learn to love the human family, and not just the people that are like themselves. And maybe even my children will learn not to be so hard on themselves. Right? You know, maybe learn better than me. You know? Right? Because we're all of us saved by grace, through faith. We're all of us saved, not by what we've done, but by what God has done for us in Jesus Christ. You know what? That's the best we can hope for our children, isn't it? That they will continue to serve the church. You know, and hope is not good enough. I think we need to have an action plan too, don't we? We can stake our claim on hope, but we need to have an action plan where we make a commitment to bring our kids into the life of the church. And you know what the author says? Even if you're a single person, there's people that are watching you. People that are watching you, watching how you love the church, watching how you devote yourself to the life of the church. So you have an opportunity to be a witness too. This is for all of us. That we're called to love the church. That we're called, just as it says in the Old Testament, to teach our children. Teach our children when they're lying down, when they're rising up, here in the church, at night when they go to bed. To have them be a part, to let them know that this is the most important. This is the primary purpose of our lives, to serve God and to follow in Jesus Christ. Why? Right? Remember who is watching. Remember who is watching. Aren't we richly blessed to have this opportunity to serve, that God has called us to serve, to stand to continue on behalf of the God's church. May it be so for all of us. Thanks be to God.